Hi, I'm Anthony,
I'm Nicole.
and this is
Life with?
Twins, episode 3. All right, so I guess I'll do the introduction. So, last week we talked about what it was like going through a miscarriage. Got kind of serious there for a bit. That's real life, I guess. So, one of the things I wanted to do was at that point stop short, so that way this week we could talk about life after the miscarriage and how it affected us both differently. So I feel like it's best that you kind of start out talking about really like your perspective from right after it happened. So take it away.
So, after the ultrasound and they told us that there wasn't a heartbeat, I just obviously felt really sad. And I just like kind of couldn't believe it. Like, even though I like had that feeling that it was, that there wouldn't be a heartbeat, I also like didn't believe the ultrasound, because you still feel pregnant. You're like, oh, I'm so tired, and you still have some of those symptoms. But we of course were so excited when we found out that we were pregnant. So we literally told pretty much the whole world. And
I think the hardest part was essentially having to tell people that you were no longer pregnant.
Well, I mean, at the time I was still like pregnant, but there just wasn't a heartbeat. So, they gave us, after the ultrasound, a doctor came in and talked to us and was just like, you can try to let the baby pass on its own, or we can go in and do a surgery to remove the baby. And so I like took the week off of work and I decided that I would just kind of see if my body would pass it on its own. And when that didn't happen, it just also made me kind of feel like that the ultrasound tech had it wrong, that there really was a heartbeat. So that was really hard. That was a real struggle. And having to, tell all our family and our friends that we prematurely told, and kind of take that away from them, that was really hard.
I feel like almost it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Especially like telling like a lot. I mean, when we first found out, I told everybody I've got a huge mouth. So I literally was like telling all my friends like, hey, like the only thing is I don't think we posted on social media is like the only thing we didn't do, thank goodness. But I mean,
pretty much
all of our friends,
our extended family, our friends, people at work.
And it was like weird being like, it's like that conversation was so weird to be like, we're not pregnant. Like, she lost the baby.
That was like also what was really hard is because you tell so many people, you try to send messages out to people that and just, say, the baby didn't have a heartbeat. But when you go back to work, and they come up to you and they're just like, so how's it going? How's the pregnancy? You're just like, we're not pregnant anymore. That's also one of the hardest things because not only does that like bring it back up for you, like, and you feel sad after maybe you've just started to like cope a little bit with it, and then you have to like bring it back up. But I mean, so not only that, but also like how awkward it is for the person asking, and having to be like, oh, we're not pregnant anymore. And then, just kind of puts them in like an awkward situation. So that was like one of the biggest struggles. But I think right after the miscarriage, like I was sad, obviously. And I questioned and I was just like, why did this have to happen to us? Like, I know other people were pregnant and their pregnancies are just fine. So why did this have to happen to us? But at the same time, I was also very hopeful. And I was like, well, we got pregnant within 7 months. Like, we'll just keep trying again. And I did a lot of Googling. Google is my friend. And Google said that in the first 3 months after a miscarriage, you're more fertile. And so I was just very like ready to try again, use this boost of fertility and kind of work on having our rainbow baby. So,
but I think the thing that was weird for me from my perspective was a couple of things. So number one, seeing you crying so consistently every night, because it was like the hardest I've ever seen you cry at that point. And it was just like, you were so devastated. And the thing that really like I just didn't get it. Like I did not understand like why, because like it just, like I was like excited to tell people like, hey, my wife's pregnant, you know, but like at the same time, like it just didn't.
It didn't feel real to him. And honestly, it didn't feel real to me. Like, yeah, I felt tired, but that's all I felt. But it didn't feel real to me until the ultrasound, and seeing the little baby there, even though it didn't have a heartbeat. Like, you know, it kind of connects the dots. Like the ultrasound is on my tummy. You see the baby, you know? Yeah. It kind of connects it like, oh, that's actually inside of me. But he wasn't there for that. So I think he was kind of detached from it.
Super detached. And like that was like the biggest thing, is like telling people was like easier for me, because I was like, yeah, she didn't, you know. And then it kind of like made me just feel like totally different about like just being pregnant and when like it's a baby in general. Like it was just like, it really like did a number on me to just feel like, I mean, if I didn't even feel it, like it was just so hard for me to connect with you about why you were constantly crying. And then the other thing was, I think that you felt super alone through the whole period of that from your family,
because
too.
most of my family had never gone through a miscarriage. So like my mom had never gone through a miscarriage. You know, some of my close friends have never gone through a miscarriage. And so trying to explain to them like how it felt, like they you know, they felt sad for you, but they also like Anthony, they couldn't understand why it was so hard. Like so hard of a thing to go through. So I kind of clung to those that I knew who had gone through a miscarriage. They may not have been like my closest friends, but I would, you know, message them because they would feel like they would make me feel like I was normal and like what I was going through was natural. You know, obviously you're excited for those around you who are pregnant, but it's still really hard when you're going through a loss of your own. And you see, you know, for us, it took us a long time to get pregnant again. So you see pregnancy announcement after pregnancy announcement. And it just like makes that loss of your miscarriage that much harder.
Well, babe, do you remember how you ended up coming in contact with a lot of the people that had miscarried? Did they just kind of like reach out to you? Like,
no. So, I mean, I didn't really like in the beginning post about my miscarriage. It wasn't until later that I posted about it.
How far later?
Like I think closer to the due date. Right? I honestly don't
about
remember.
A year later almost. Like, I mean, it took a long time for you to...
But I know like some people openly posted about their miscarriage on Facebook. And so I messaged them, or someone would be like, oh, I know somebody who went through a miscarriage. And so then I would like reach out to them and just be like, you know, I need help going through this. And, you know, I also kind of clung to those who had, you know, Christian faith, because that's, you know, a lot what got me through the miscarriage, as well as knowing that like God has a plan greater than we could ever imagine. And, you know, after every storm, you know, there comes that rainbow of hope, and he doesn't, you know, create this pain without allowing something new to be born. So I really clung to those, you know, words and those verses, and, you know, so yeah, I really like talking to people who had gone through a miscarriage, but also have that Christian faith.
Yeah, I think that's really what honestly kind of got you through everything, was having other people that were able to at least understand where you were coming from, that made you feel normal, because when your family didn't really understand, they didn't know what to say. And like, I mean, I just feel like it made you feel so isolated. And so like having people around you definitely changed things. So that's kind of the beginning story of like the miscarriage, but I think there's still a lot that I, in a sense, want to touch on in the next episode when it comes to what it was like to see other people that were having kids and like how that was making you feel, and then like when we first started figuring out like we couldn't get pregnant. So I want to address those in the next episode. So I think it's a good place to end now. So I just want to say thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will make sure to give you more content, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Sorry, there's not a heartbeat. You know, we're not having a grandbaby at this time, and you know, having to like go through and just like tell our.
You want to take that out of it? So we'll edit this. Say something, baby.
Hi.
Okay, so look into that camera.
Say something, I'm giving up.